Egypt was silent, but it wasn't peace. It was the silence of fear, of chains, of injustice baked into every brick and burden. Israel had become labor. Every cry, every tear, every baby thrown into the Nile seemed to vanish into the void. But the God of the Hebrews was still writing, even when no one heard the pen. A baby was born under the shadow of death, nameless, hopeless, just a cry, muffled within the walls of a slave's home. The mother looked into her son's eyes and saw something Pharaoh could never understand: hope. She hid him for 3 months. Every knock at the door could have been the end, until the day came when she couldn't hide him any longer. But she didn't hand him to death. She handed him to the river, a basket, pitch, and prayer. God, let the waters carry my son, but not drown him. Let your purpose find him in the middle of Egypt. And then she let go. The Nile carried the basket, a cradle of destiny floating through the empire. And while the people wept, God moved, not with armies, but with a baby. Pharaoh's daughter found him. She named him Moses, drawn out of the water. Unknowingly, she was raising in the heart of the palace the one who would one day tear down Egypt's gods. A baby was born under the shadow of death, nameless, hopeless, just a cry muffled within the walls of a slave's home. The mother looked into her son's eyes and saw something Pharaoh could never understand: hope. She hid him for 3 months. Every knock at the door could have been the end, until the day came when she couldn't hide him any longer. But she didn't hand him to death. She handed him to the river. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace, but never belonged there. He wore the garments of royalty, but carried the blood of a slave. He dined in gold, but felt the cry of his people deep in his soul. Until one day, he snapped. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew. Something inside him broke, and he struck. One blow, one body buried in the sand. Justice? Maybe. But it wasn't God's time. It was man's impulse. The next day he tried to stop 2 Hebrews fighting, but one of them turned and said, "Who made you ruler over us? Will you kill me too?" Moses froze. The secret was out, and Pharaoh found out. He was no longer a prince, he was a fugitive. He ran into the wilderness, no crown, no home, only dust and silence. Years passed. Moses traded a sword for a shepherd's staff, gold for sand, palace for obscurity. It felt like the end of a mission. But with God, the wilderness isn't death, it's training. One day, while tending sheep at Horeb, the mountain of God, he saw something strange, a bush on fire, but not consumed. Curious, he drew closer, and God spoke. "Moses, Moses." He answered, "Here I am." Then the voice said, "Take off your sandals. The ground you're standing on is holy." The God who had been silent for 400 years was calling a man, calling Moses. "I have seen the affliction of my people. I have heard their cry, and I have come down to rescue them." And then the mission. "Go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt." Moses trembled. Who am I? But it was never about who he was. It was about who was sending him. I am who I am. The same God who lit the fire would ignite the heart of the deliverer. Moses returned to Egypt, not as a prince, but as a prophet. His staff was now his authority. His voice echoed the voice of God. But Egypt hadn't changed. The pyramids still stood. The Hebrews still bled under the whip, and Pharaoh still thought himself a god. Moses walked into the palace, faced the throne, and spoke boldly. "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go." Pharaoh laughed. "Who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go." Moses and Aaron persisted. But the response was worse than silence. It was punishment. Pharaoh commanded the people to keep making bricks without straw. No rest, only burden. "They're idle," he said. That's why they cry out. Give them more work, more weight, more pain. And the people groaned, not just under bricks, but under broken hope. Moses turned to God confused. Why, Lord, ever since I spoke in your name, things have only gotten worse. You have not rescued your people. But God does not back down. Now you will see what I will do. With a mighty hand I will bring them out. Then they began. The plagues, the Nile turned to blood. Fish died. Egypt stank, but Pharaoh hardened his heart. Then came frogs, gnats, flies. There was magic, but there was something greater. God was judging more than a man. He was confronting false gods, destroying idols with every blow. The Hebrew people watched, creation groaned, and the sky grew dark, and still Pharaoh resisted. But the word had already been spoken, and when God speaks, not even empires can silence him. Darkness had covered Egypt, both literal and spiritual. 9 plagues had passed, 9 signs, 9 chances, but Pharaoh's heart was still stone. Then God spoke to Moses. 1 more plague I will bring upon Pharaoh. After that, he will let you go. It would not just be judgment, it would be separation, the night when God would mark who belonged to him. Moses gathered the people. Each family would take a lamb, without blemish, innocent, sacrifice it, put its blood on your doorposts, and stay inside. Because that night, the angel of death would pass. But where there was blood, there would be life. While the Hebrews obeyed, Pharaoh laughed in his palace. He didn't believe death could touch his house. But at midnight, the wailing shattered the silence. The firstborn of every Egyptian home fell. From the palace to the dungeon, no door was spared. That very night, Pharaoh summoned Moses. Take your people, go serve your God. Now, after 400 years of slavery, freedom was born in a single night. But before they left, the Hebrews did the unthinkable. They asked the Egyptians for gold, silver, and fine clothing. And the Egyptians, broken and terrified, gave it all. From slaves to a prosperous people, from groaning to victory. And so, like an army led by God, Israel marched out of Egypt. But the story is far from over. The people walked, but the past pursued them. Behind them, Egypt roared. Pharaoh had changed his mind. With his finest chariots, soldiers, and fury, he raced after the freed slaves. The desert trembled under the weight of war, and in front of them, only sea. The Hebrews panicked. Why did you bring us out of Egypt? We could have died there, better than dying here. But Moses didn't flinch. He looked to heaven, raised his staff, and declared, Do not fear, stand firm, the Lord will fight for you. Then the wind came, not just any wind, but eternity's breath. The sea split, like walls of water to the left and right, and dry ground stretched before them. An entire nation walking through waves, held back by the hand of God. The impossible became a path. Fear became faith. Pharaoh followed. But the sea did not belong to Egypt. When the last Hebrew stepped out, the waters crashed down in divine judgment, and where once there was oppression, now only silence. Israel was free, truly free, and there beside the sea they sang, The Lord is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation. Who is like the Lord, majestic in holiness, awesome in glory? The wilderness still waited, but now they knew they did not walk alone.